Daily Gospel Reflection. Luke 11:47-54. Thursday of the 28th week A. October 19, 2023. Jesus denounces the scribes for their hypocrisy that has something to do with their rejection of truth. Luke 11:47-51. Woe to you, for you build the tombs of the prophets, and it was your fathers who killed them. Luke 11:47. We are well aware of the fact that the prophets of the Old Testament usually died a martyr's death. They were roundly hated and rejected. They were continually put to death. Psalms 44:22 embodies and articulates this truth. But for your sake we are killed all day long. We are considered as sheep to be slaughtered. And we understand the sin in that. But Jesus here pronounces judgment on the scribes because they build the tombs of the prophets. So what causes Jesus to condemn it that way? Does Jesus just not like tombs? Does Jesus just not want them buried? What is the problem? The problem is that their building and adorning of the prophets' tombs was a work of tremendous hypocrisy. They adorned the tombs of the prophets as if to say, we would have listened to those prophets, not killed them. And Jesus, who knows their hearts, sees only the hypocrisy in such an action. Beyond that, let me remind you, when God sent prophets to the people in the Old Testament, He did not send them to be glorified. The goal was not to get you to honor them. Way was the goal, to get you to obey them, to imitate them, to be inspired by them. What was the problem? It wasn't a lack of honor, it was a lack of obedience. Obey them, don't just venerate them. I would tell you this is another one of the areas where Catholicism is so far off the mark. Catholicism loves the veneration of saints. They love to honor the apostles and even the angels. They will build statues and shrines. They will give them all sorts of glory and praise. Some will even pray to them. But don't suppose for 1 second that that was the goal. God never intended for them to be venerated. He sent them into the world that we might listen to them, obey them, emulate them, be inspired by them. To fail to obey them and then to build them a decorated tomb is actually the highest form of hypocrisy and insult. It is worse than actually killing them. Summing up the whole gospel, Jesus chastised the religious leaders of his day for being double-minded and for demanding from others standards which they refused to satisfy. They professed admiration for the prophets by building their tombs while at the same time they opposed their message and closed their ears to the word of God. In so doing, they proved themselves as living embodiments and perfect examples of hypocrisy. Hypocrisy that the Lord truly detests, that the Lord will never tolerate and that the Lord will eventually expose to the humiliation, condemnation, destruction and eternal death of the hypocrites. Prayer. Lord, may the light of your word free my heart from the deception of sin and consume me with a burning love for your truth and righteousness. Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from God.